Cool. So feel free to find your comfortable seat unless you want to begin class lying down. All right, that's going to be your choice. Whether you're, maybe starting in child's pose, some people enjoy that. Maybe you're in a seated position, legs crossed, maybe legs straight out. Maybe you're laying down. Right? There's just different suggestions, but I really just want you to start your practice however is most comfortable for you, whichever way will support your body. And then once you, maybe move side to side a little bit, and when you can find stillness, you're welcome to close your eyes. As we all take a few moments to arrive into our space, with the eyes closed, that will help us draw into our internal environment. Maybe you're starting to tune into the breath. Maybe you're noticing certain places within your body that you'd like to soften, relax. And as you continuously find your yin practice, right, these things happen second nature. But you'll get better and better at listening to the breath. You'll find more and more ease as you practice softening into your body. And for our focus of class today, I want us to think about one little phrase, and we're going to analyze it a little bit. We're going to dig into it. But overall, I want us to work on letting go of whatever we're carrying. Sometimes people refer to this as baggage, but I don't really want to term it that way. I would like us to just practice letting go of whatever we're carrying. Sometimes that's whatever is being carried on the shoulders, whatever is being carried on the back, maybe what's being carried in the hips or the knees. But we'll use our practice here to practice releasing that. To practice letting go of whatever we're carrying. And sometimes it's not always bad things. Sometimes we want to carry certain attributes, or we want to carry certain expectations. So let's just lump everything that we're carrying into one degree, and let's practice letting it go. Each moment that passes with that thought, maybe you feel your breath more and more at ease. You feel your body more and more at ease. Let's come together to find a few cleansing breaths. When we do this, we'll inhale through the nose and we'll exhale out the mouth together. So whenever you're ready, we'll inhale completely and then open the lips to exhale. Again, we'll take a breath in. And we'll take a breath out. One more time. Inhale to fill up. And exhale to release the breath. As you come back to your natural breath, Notice warmth present within the body. The ability to let go allows us to feel that warmth rather than block it or hide it. And as we now come together for the sound of Om, you're welcome to keep your hands relaxed in your lap. You're welcome to bring your hands into a prayer shape at heart center. And maybe you'll listen to the sound of Om, or you'll join me. Together, we'll take a deep breath in. Keeping your eyes closed, bow your chin towards your chest. Take a moment to allow the vibrations to settle within the heart space, allowing them to reverberate off of the walls of the inner body, and allow them to seal your intentions for practice. So from here, whenever you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes and you can release the hands. We'll take our time to come out of our seated position. And we're going to allow ourselves to start in straight leg pigeon. Okay, and this particular pose that I call straight leg pigeon, I'm going to show you at different angles just so that you can see it from all sides so that it makes sense, because sometimes it's confusing at first glance. And I just want to make sure, which I think you'll see me on the floor, but I'm just going to go like this. Yeah, that's way better. Okay, so in straight leg pigeon, we're going to allow our left leg to go long. So for example, in a pigeon pose, bringing the left knee up. But instead of that, we're going to sit on the floor and we extend that left leg out to the side. My right knee is going to come back in towards my body. Okay, so just so that you can see it front ways, if I was sitting, ultimately right leg extends long, or left leg extends long, right knee bends back behind me. So this is the shape, so that I allow myself to fold over the thigh. Okay, but wait, I'm going to show you again. I'm sitting, left leg extends long, right knee bends back behind. I start to twist over my thigh. Right? So eventually you're going to either face the front or the back of the mat, depending on where you're facing. Okay, I'll show it again now. From the other side. If I was sitting forward, left leg extends out, right knee bends back behind. Right? And then again, I take a moment to twist. But let's talk about some props here. Maybe taking a blanket or a pillow and support that left hip. Maybe some people will take a blanket to support the back knee. Maybe that you need. And whether you use another pillow or blanket or bolster, and then you can prop your chest or your belly and even your head as you allow yourself to relax long. Okay, but ultimately that's the shape. If you have a question as you're arriving, you're more than welcome to unmute and ask, or type it in and ask. But our left leg is extending straight out. The right knee bends back. Yeah. Perfect. So that left leg, it might have a slight bend in the knee. That's fine. You don't have to lock that leg straight.
have one quick question.
We're all here. So let's begin to allow ourselves to breathe into the stretch. Some people may be feeling more in the left leg, maybe in the back right hip. Maybe somewhere there's sensation or stretching along the vertebrae or your shoulders. Just take your time arriving. This is our very first pose. If you haven't already, we'll begin that process of softening. We'll feel into the ability to let go of unnecessary tension, allowing ourselves to release unnecessary control. And really, we can allow this act of letting go with whatever we're carrying to express itself through softening. Softening through the muscles, softening through the bones, softening through the organs. Of course, within your own time, you'll check in with the breath. Just making sure it's present. Maybe you're breathing deeply. Maybe you're breathing quietly. No right or wrong. We're going to keep our legs here in straight leg pigeon, but slowly you'll walk your hands closer towards your body and you'll come to just rest on your hands. So our legs are still here in straight leg pigeon. Our palms, arms are lengthening. We're just taking a moment. Maybe sensation is slightly different. And I want you to take a moment to walk away from your left foot, right? So as you walk away from the left foot, just let one hand at a time start to twist away from the left foot. So rather than me being forward, I just walk myself away to the opposite side. And we're just stretching for a moment, slightly different. We're not going to be here long, but can you find that ability just to feel the buoyancy within the upper body? And then with that same idea, can you walk yourself through center and then towards the left foot? Right? A little different now. Maybe one hand walks over the shin and over the calf. Maybe this way you don't go very far, maybe just about halfway instead. And then from here, within your own time, as you walk back to center, then your hands can slowly walk back towards the body and you can fully release from the stretch. Whether that's bending into one knee, unraveling the back leg, and maybe windshield wipering the knees from side to side. You may want to forward fold here, lengthening the legs, and just taking a gentle forward fold. You don't have to go super far. Sometimes after that stretch, I tend to roll through my shoulders and move through my rib cage. Right? It's just little organic movement. No right or wrong. And I shouldn't say little. Sometimes it's big movements. So whenever you're ready, you'll find that pause to rebound. Whether you stay cross-legged, maybe you hug around the shins and bring your forehead down. Maybe you allow yourself to rest on your back or belly. But just taking that moment to pause. That moment to reflect. And maybe to let go of whatever you're carrying slightly more. If you're in the middle of something, stay where you are in your rebound. Okay, or whenever you're ready, we'll start to open up the eyes, we'll unravel the body, and then we'll move into straight leg pigeon on the right side. So maybe I sit on my right hip, right leg extends long, my left knee bends behind me, and then as I twist over that thigh, I allow my spine to lengthen. And especially if depending on the texture of your mat or the floor, you may want to prop your right hip a little bit. Again, I'll find my blanket, I'll roll it up, and I can use that to help support my belly and my chest as I fold. Or maybe you don't fold and you just stay on your palms. So it's all about gradually deepening sensation. It's not about seeing how deep you can stretch the quickest. If you have a question, you're more than welcome to ask. And that has nothing to do with being on Zoom. In a yin class, there are many questions. But once you've found sensation, when you've found the pose that you'd like to be within, close your eyes, come to stillness. Beginning to arrive here. letting your awareness travel into the different spaces of your body. Allowing yourself not only to soften, but then to let go of whatever is being carried. Whether that's in the physical body, maybe that's within the breath. Maybe it's within the mental body or the energetic body. So just take your time. Being patient as you breathe into the sensations of stretch. Yet also being patient with that process of softening. Letting go of whatever is being carried can be seen as a skill. So be patient as you learn this new habit or this new ability or this new skill. And allowing yourself to check in with the breath. Allowing yourself to check in with the gaze at your eyelids. As we allow ourselves to continue to observe, maybe sensation has shifted or is somewhat different than when first entering the pose. Remember, no rush to this. We're going to keep our legs where they are, but we'll start to awaken the arms and the palms so that we can lift our head and chest. No rush. Maybe sensation is even different there. And then we're going to start to walk away from that foot, just twisting into the opposite direction. And we're not making any particular shape. We're not creating any sort of line. So if the back knee wants to come in a little bit closer as we let ourselves twist, that's fine. But just spending a moment of breath A moment there to soften. And then very slowly, we'll come back to center. We'll walk through center and then over towards the right foot. Maybe just a quarter of the way, maybe the whole direction. Again, just looking for something different. Maybe even taking a moment to close the eyes to focus. Once you've found your breath, you can allow one hand at a time to walk back through center. And then completely releasing from the pose at your own pace. Right? Maybe it's moving the props around, bending into the knees. For example, this time I'm going to roll onto my back and hug the knees into the chest, rocking from side to side. But maybe you're still sitting, maybe you're twisting, maybe you're making your own little shapes. Something that you've done in a yoga class before, where it's just organic, natural movement. Okay? But within your own time, you'll find that pause to rebound. Whether you're on your back, your belly, you're seated. Just noticing and reflecting. Allowing yourself to feel. Maybe this meditative pause brings you to the sensation of letting go. If you're in the middle of something, you're welcome to stay here. Within your own time, we'll all meet back in a seated posture. No rush to get there. Take any movements along the way. No right or wrong. Okay. But as we allow ourselves to now come back to sit, we'll make our way on the belly so that we can come into an arm stretch. And we're going to allow ourselves to find open wing. And many of you have done this with me before. Maybe only needing one blanket. You're going to come to the belly, and your left arm will come out to a T shape, right? And as that left arm comes out to T, you'll roll into the shoulder, right? The pillow's there, and the blanket can support the head. If you feel a lot in this pose, you'll bring your knees into your chest, right? If you want more, lengthen your legs. If you want more, the right leg, will come back behind you. Maybe it's straight. Maybe the knee is bent. One more thing here. That foot can be behind the thigh or the foot can come in front. And that will just depend on where your hip wants the foot to be placed, so just honor that. And then your right hand can stay in front of the chest, can relax on the floor, or it can come up and around the low back and take a half bind. So feel free to take any of those variations. Of course, depending on the type of floor you're on, you may need another blanket underneath the left hip or a knee or an ankle. So just allow any bones to be propped. Once you've adjusted the body, adjusted your props, you'll be able to close your eyes, beginning to find stillness. From there, you can begin that process of softening. And I call it a process because it doesn't happen as quickly as turning on a light switch. It's on or it's off. It's a lot more complex than that. But keep your awareness hovering towards the inner body so that we can allow the eyes and the muscles around the eyes to soften. So that when we relax the jaw, we can release the tip of the tongue, the middle of the tongue, and even the back of the tongue. And as we allow ourselves to relax through the arms, we'll also soften into the creases of the elbows, allowing that skin to breathe. And each time we let go of what we're carrying, it doesn't have to feel like a loss. Maybe every time we let go of what we're carrying, we also pick something up in return. Maybe it's an insight, inner wisdom, maybe just a thought or an idea. Sometimes what we're picking up could be a memory, a random dream, but if we keep feeding the need to hold on to whatever is unnecessary, we limit our human experience. Allow yourself to check in with the breath here. Let's keep the left arm in open wing, keep it where it is. But if you have, or slowly, guide your right arm in front of your chest. And then pick that right arm up and over the ear. Let the hand reach over the crown of your head. Maybe it touches the floor, maybe it doesn't. And just see if sensation changes, or if sensation is different with this lifted arm. Maybe even pick the right arm up and let the hand just reach up towards the ceiling. Maybe move that right arm down and around, take circles with that right shoulder. A few times one way, a few times another way. The movements can be big, the movements can be small, but just see what changes, if anything at all. Of course, if this brought you in the middle of something and you'd like to stay, you can. Or we'll slowly guide that right palm back in front of the chest. If you have the legs separated, can you slowly bring one back on top of the other? And then even slower, you'll start to roll out of the left shoulder. You'll start to roll onto the belly. Maybe the left arm stays in that T shape, or you walk both hands underneath the chest. Maybe you just find stillness here. If it feels good, you can kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees from side to side, finding a little movement into the hips. Once the legs are relaxed, if you want to bring your palms near your chest and lift into low cobra, high cobra, up dog, depending on how much extension your spine is interested in. And if this reaches your hips back towards child's pose, great. Maybe you find down dog if you want it to be a little more active. Maybe you stay on your belly. But within your own time, you'll find that moment to pause, that moment to be in rebound. Giving yourself the chance to reflect on the breath. Notice subtle sensation. Maybe here in rebound, we can have moments of farewell to whatever you chose to let go of, and a moment of welcoming to whatever you chose to pick up. Okay. If you're in the middle of something, stay here, continue to rebound. But if you'd like to take open wing on the right-hand side, we can slowly make our way back to the belly. No rush. Okay, this time, right arm is out to T. You'll roll into the shoulder. Maybe knees come into the chest. Maybe your legs are long. Maybe one knee is bent behind you, or that foot comes in front of the thigh. But now that your right hand is in front of the chest, or no, I can't. Your left hand is in front of the chest. Maybe the forearm relaxes down, or you can pick up the arm and let it rest at the back of the spine. And then within your own time, you'll allow the eyes to close. You'll begin to arrive into the space of stillness. Continuing to draw your awareness inward. And within your own time, as you begin to let yourself soften, begin to let yourself release, not only letting go of anything carried in the physical body, but maybe some thoughts within the mental body. One thing that comes to mind is how we carry expectations. And sometimes carrying the expectation is more of a burden than a gift. And to keep it related to yin, if you've been in this pose once, twice, or dozens of times, for some reason the brain thinks it should have the same experience as it did previously. But let's remind ourselves that the body is forever changing and adapting. Let's allow ourselves to breathe into the gift of being present. Learning from the shape and what it wants to teach you now. And from time to time, you can check in with your breath. Just making sure that the breath is present, nothing to find or change. We're going to keep the right arm still in open wing, but we'll find those movements to the left arm. Of course, within your own time, you may have to unravel it from the back body and then begin to reach it up over the ear, over the crown of the head. Maybe the hand is dangling or the hand is touching the floor. Just notice. After finding a few breaths there, you can always reach the arm straight up towards the ceiling. Let it hover. Maybe you start to take circles with that left shoulder, a few times clockwise, a few times counterclockwise, big, small. Maybe the elbow bends and extends. I mean, it has many options. But with that movement, do you notice something different within the experience of the stretch? And that's what we're here to notice. And then within your own time, that left hand can come completely in front of the chest. One leg coming back to the other. And then very slowly and gradually, you'll take yourself onto your belly. Arms can place at the top of the mat. Maybe they reach back towards your hips and just rest on the floor. Again, if you'd like to kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees. Maybe you reach the chest high, open through the collarbones, extending through the spine. Maybe you do none of these and you come straight to rebound. Maybe you find a few moments of movement first. And then you'll find that moment to pause. Maybe these pauses and rebound are somehow simultaneously light and heavy. Noticing subtle sensation as we allow the fascia to contract back. Noticing any space within the mind or within the heart. And then no rush. Maybe you allow yourself to find a child's pose first before walking yourself up to a seated shape. Or if you stay lying down, you can always roll to one side of the body, come back to sit up. No right or wrong, just moving more and more slowly, more and more organically, allowing natural movement to take its course. Right? Because if you have thought, then you have energy. If you have energy, you have thought. So if you want to suddenly strike a pose and stretch, honor it. But from here, we're going to come to sit, and we're going to be taking our butterfly pose, but you'll have the option if you want to choose to forward fold so that you can find a different movement to the spine, or if you want to lay back down. So that will be your decision based on what you want to do for your hips. So option one, to bring the soles of the feet together, right? Your knees are going to go to the left and the right. And if you choose to forward fold, maybe you take a blanket underneath the hips. Again, using a blanket or a folded blanket or a few blankets to prop yourself as you support your forehead or support more of your chest. However, if you want to take that same shape but lying down, you'll come to lie down on your mat. And then again, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Maybe a blanket or a pillow underneath each thigh or each knee as you allow yourself to relax and just let the hands release. These are both good options. It just depends on what you want to do for your body. Maybe you start in the forward fold and then you lay back down, or you start laying down and then you forward fold. But you can even play around here with how far or close your feet are. Right? So if your feet go farther away from you, you end up making more of a diamond shape. And if you bring your feet closer towards you, you're still honoring that butterfly shape. And you can play around with the placement of the feet. That may enhance sensation, that may take away some sensation, but you choose what you want to feel today in your body. the minute we come into any sort of practice, but especially yin, the minute we come in acting like we know more than the body is a sign that we need to take a few breaths. We need to come back to our awareness. Honoring that the body is going to communicate to you here. And then when you find the happy medium, you can then begin to enter your stretch. Allowing yourself to soften if you haven't already. Even if you began softening and letting go, we'll most likely do it a few more times as we continue to reclaim our space. As your eyes continue to adjust to your inner gaze, allow them to look, allow them to see, allow them to watch in the same way they would if they were open. When we practice letting go of whatever we carry, sometimes at first glance, it could feel that something is being taken away from us. So for the example with the vision, when we allow our eyes to close at first glance, maybe your body or mind feels that something is being taken away. But it's actually being gifted something. Experience something completely new, picking up a little more wisdom, a little more understanding. If you'd like to stay in your butterfly shape a little longer, you're more than welcome to. However, if you're choosing to release, just do so very slowly, very mindfully, whether that's walking your way to sit and then unraveling, or unraveling the legs first, stretching the arms, moving through the ankles, moving through the hands, right? Whatever parts of you want to gain a little movement. Some days you're going to want more, and some days you'll want less. Within your own time, you'll begin to find rebound if you're not already there. Where we allow the body to neutralize. We allow the fascia, the fibers that we're stretching, to contract back. Also, they're falling into a new place. They're creating new patterns internally, just like the mind is. So we need to honor that process. We need to speak to that process. Passing through the conscious body and letting it settle into the subconscious. Okay, so if you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're more than welcome to stay exactly where you are. If you're ready for the next pose, we can all make our way back to a seated shape. No rush to get there. Take your time. I'll start talking about the next pose, but again, no rush to get there. So we're actually going to let ourselves come into a toe stretch. And when we come into that toe stretch, I'm not really sure how I want to use my blanket. So it really depends on how much cushion you want for your knees. But you're going to walk to the knees. And as you stand on your knees for a moment, right, my toes are untucked, but then I'm going to tuck them. And sometimes you can bring your pinky toe, making sure that's down to the floor, and then you sit back on the heels. Because of that, it's the deepest sensation the quickest because all of your weight is on your feet. So bringing any sort of blocks, any sort of blankets or pillows, you'll allow yourself to come forward instead, right? Coming forward, you hinge forward, less pressure on the feet. And then you can always walk yourself back. Maybe you don't even use blocks, maybe you just use the floor. That's fine too. But then you can walk yourself up if you'd like to, as you start to play around with the sensation, and if you want to experience a little more. Hands are going to relax along, away from the body, or at the thighs. Okay. Now, of course, if this is not good for your ankles, if you don't want to be in this sort of shape, that's fine. You're going to allow yourself to sit down, and taking one foot at a time, you'll pat it over the opposite foot, right? So in that way, you're stretching slightly into the ankles and along the shins and calves. So all I'm doing is going to find gentle movement. I let one foot pass and then the other foot pass right on top of each other. Okay. So feel free to choose one or the other, right? Whatever will work for you.
All 5 of my toes don't go down.
Wait, what did you say, Holly?
All 5 of my toes don't touch the floor.
That's okay. Do you feel, is it painful though to be in the stretch?
There's a lot of sensation, but I wouldn't call it pain.
Okay, so then that's okay.
Okay, I
If
just,
you're, well, tell me.
it's just that I can't, my little toes, I think only the first 3 or 4 toes actually are on the ground.
That's okay. That's okay, yeah. Sometimes though, just guiding them like towards that direction of down is fine, but they don't have to touch. Rather than letting them kind of like get caught, just making sure they're somewhat down, but they don't have to be touching. And yes, toe stretch really finds us in a place of discomfort, whether it's in the arches of the feet, arriving into the ankles, arriving into the shins, sometimes even in the knees, backs of the knees. And if it's in the realm of discomfort, great, I want you to explore it. If it starts to pass that and enter pain, we need to release. And sometimes in toe stretch especially, it's a learning curve. We're not sure what's the difference between pain and discomfort. But through the ability to soften, through that process of taking our time, we slowly learn. Just don't lose sight of the breath. And you can always choose to release from the stretch, come back into it. Maybe you go to rebound a little earlier. But what you do within this time frame, staying focused, listening to the body, softening, staying inward, you're completing the practice. Most of our poses today, we were holding for about 5 minutes. This pose, we're now in it at 2, and it may have felt like 5, but we're gonna start to slowly release here. We're not going to rush just because the feet may feel like fire. We wanna start to slowly hinge our way forward. As our hands come down, we'll slowly untuck one foot, untuck the other foot. Right. Take your time. If it feels good to sway the hips side to side, great. Some people like to tap the tops of the feet down on your mat. They can do it slowly or kind of like a quicker pitter-patter feeling. That lets the blood come back, or more of like an oxygen rush, you're welcome to try that. And maybe you roll into the ankles, squishing the toes, rolling around into the feet. And then same idea, you'll take just a moment to pause. Right, reflecting on how you experienced that experience. Maybe letting the awareness arrive back through the toes, through the knuckles of the toes, the tops of the feet, the soles of the feet. Even come back into the awareness of the breath. Okay. So of course, you're welcome to stay there for as long as you'd like. If you're in the middle of something, you can stay within rebound. Or we'll come back to a seated shape. And then we're gonna allow ourselves to do just one more pose together before finding Shavasana. And the pose here in Yin is called Golden Gate. or at least that's what I know of it as, Golden Gate, because it's a variation of bridge, but for yin. So maybe you have a bolster at home and you would use a bolster, but I'm going to show it to you with blankets. I may need to take a few blankets, allowing them to stack one on top of another. It really just depends on how thick the blankets are that you're using. Whether I'm using 3 right now, maybe you use 1 or 2. But you're going to allow the blankets to be right at the base of the spine, okay? And then with the legs long, I arch over what I'm creating, whether it's with bolsters or blankets, making sure my shoulders aren't on the bolster, the shoulders are not on the blankets, the shoulders are off and onto the floor. Maybe they're not touching the floor, they might just be hovering, and that's fine. And then we're going to allow our arms to open out, whether they're up above the head or in a T shape. Okay, so we're allowing a lot of sensation to occur in the front body, maybe the back body. But if the legs are long and that's causing pain or you don't want to do that, just bring your feet flat to the floor, knees bent. Right? That's a great way to start this stretch as well. And depending on what you find comfortable, sometimes I cross my shins here in this pose. And as I cross my shins, I just allow my knees to relax. So you're welcome to try that as well. Okay. But you're allowing your spine to arch over the bridge that you're creating. Whether it's with 1 blanket, 2 blankets, 3 blankets, or a bolster. Maybe you're going to use a pillow instead. And of course, the higher you make your bridge, the more stretch occurs, or the deeper sensations. And if you find out that you're making your bridge too tough or too high at any point in the pose, just gently sit up and remove a layer. Okay, within your own time, you allow the arms to open out, hands to relax. Again, option 1 is knees bent, feet flat to the floor. A little less sensation to start. Maybe you extend both legs long or just 1 leg long. Seeing how your body adapts to that. For whatever reason, if it feels comfortable for you, sometimes crossing the shins as you lay down could also provide a nice stretch. Allowing ourselves to find the opportunity to soften. Allowing our chest and our diaphragm and our belly to extend above us. Allowing yourself to breathe in between the spaces of the ribs. Remembering that our entire body is connected in one piece of these many layered fascia. There's no starting, there's no ending, it's just continuous fiber. Sometimes this expectation that we carry is under the mindset that there's separation in the body, there's differences in the body, there's borders within the body. But feeling the fascia stretch, feeling how it can affect different places of your body simultaneously, reminds us that the inner body is unified. There is no difference, there is no separation. It functions more and more optimally as we allow ourselves to let go of whatever we're carrying. So before we move ourselves out of the pose and into Shavasana, if you are very comfortable here and you want to stay in Golden Gate, you're more than welcome to do so. But if you're choosing to release, maybe you first guide the arms towards the body. Maybe the knees bend one at a time. And then as you roll to one side, just be mindful because you're going to have some props underneath your ribs. And of course, just move slowly as you come to sit. Maybe you even lengthen one side body, lengthen into the other side body if it feels good. Giving yourself even a moment of space. And then as you decide how to take Shavasana, that may be resting on that same side body, left or right side, with the knees in the chest. You may want to simply lay on your back or roll to your belly. And feel free to find a few props here or use no props at all. As we close our eyes, find our stillness. Let's allow our practice to flourish from head to toe, welcoming ourselves into Shavasana. within your own time, you can gently begin to deepen your breath. Just noticing a presence to your inhales, noticing a release to your exhales as we arrive back into the space of our bodies, as we arrive back into the space of your room and each other's rooms collectively, energetically. And maybe you choose to spend a longer time here in Shavasana. No need to awaken the body entirely. But if you'd like to start to welcome some movements, maybe first awakening through the hands and wrists, awakening through the feet and the ankles. If it feels good to stretch the arms up and above the head and lengthen, you're welcome to do so. If you bend into the knees and bring the feet flat to the floor, you can always windshield wiper the knees from side to side as you slowly awaken the hips, and the knees and the shins. Within your own time, if it feels good to hug the knees into the chest, maybe wrapping around the backs of the thighs, or wrapping around the knees or shins themselves. Picking your forehead up, reach towards the knees as you lengthen from the back body. And then intuitively roll to one side. Maybe it's the left, maybe it's the right. You're more than welcome to end your practice on your side body, or you can gently push down into the floor and make your way back to a seated shape. Taking your time to find stillness again, and then reclose the eyes in case they've opened. But as we reflect on our practice, reflecting on our willingness to let go of whatever we're carrying, we can feel the natural lift within the spine. We can feel freedoms within the breath, noticing space and clarity within the mind. Together, let's find a cleansing breath as we inhale through the nose, and then open the lips to exhale. You're welcome to guide your hands into a prayer shape as we close our class with the sound of Om. Taking a deep breath in. Gently bowing your chin towards your chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste. Yay! Thank you, 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 thank you. Welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. I like to hear all the noise, so I'm gonna unmute us. Of course, you're more than welcome to stop whenever you'd like. Happy everyone. Thank you. You're welcome. And we'll I love seeing some of the animals. That's always fun.
This is a good class. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
It's good to see everybody this week.
Yeah, good to see everybody. That was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's nice. Sometimes in other groups that I teach, I kind of have them go around and share something. So I might start doing that for our Austin Yoga Tree classes. And it may just be a little question like, how do you feel today? Or what did you do today? Or something, a fun fact. I don't know. It'll be random.
It's always good
That'd be
to
nice.
have that conversation and connect with each other.
Okay, cool. Good, good,
Yeah,
good.
we might be able to do that if we were at the studio, but now we can do it this week.
Yeah. And the way I'm doing it is I just, like, as everyone signs on, I see everybody in a certain order. So I just will say your name and then you know that's your turn to talk. And not very fluid, but it's kind of all we have to work with.
I don't have access to that one.
But anyway,
I'm not saying that.
we'll all sleep good, I'm sure.
Thank you, Lucianna.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Victoria. Bye, Hallie.
Bye.
I'll see you guys. Good night. Oh, thanks for the chat.